Welcome to the Agent of Wealth podcast with Marc Bautis from Bautis Financial. In this podcast, Marc helps guide you towards financial freedom, ensure you never run out of money, and create a balance in life that prioritizes what is most important to you. Join us for this journey as Marc draws from years of expertise and guest experts to solve the multiple wealth building challenges involved in your financial life.
Welcome back to the Agent of Wealth. This is your host, Marc Bautis. Today I'm joined by guest Alex Sonkin. Alex is the founder of the Due Diligence Project and the Virtual Family Office Hub, a platform of vetted resources that supports hundreds of leading tax-focused CPA firms and family offices around the country. Alex also authored a book, The Due Diligence Project, and is the host of the Due Diligence Project podcast. Alex, welcome to the show.
Marc, thanks so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here, my friend.
Great. So I'm looking forward to today's topic. I think we're around tax season, so it's probably something that people should think or look about all year long, but the focus is especially heightened on it today. How did you get started in the tax and finance space?
I started out as an options trader in Chicago out of University of Michigan Business School. I was a member of the Chicago Board of Trade, the MERC, and the CBOE, and so I was actually taught how to make markets and take on risk and get rid of risk in the financial markets. And when I would meet tax attorneys and realize, these guys worked really hard, they eliminated taxes, they got paid a fee for their work, and it would seem like they would never really have a bad day. Meanwhile, sometimes I go to work, trade all day, trade all week, and have a negative day, negative week. I'm going, man, I'm working really, really hard, and I don't make money every single day. I was very interested. I wasn't interested enough to become a tax attorney, but back then, 25 years ago, I'm like, man, if I could somehow get involved in tax, that would be amazing. Helping families, elite business owners eliminate their tax problems, get paid a fee for the work, and help them keep that money, create more jobs. So many years later, when I left the trading floor, I started building our virtual family office and ultimately build out the virtual family office hub. We realized we started doing events for CPAs, and we were starting to introduce elite CPA firms and elite family offices to the top tax attorneys and specialists in the world who would come to our events, speak on stage, and then we would have those hallway discussions. And one of the things we realized was those hallway discussions were magical. The conversations between these elite tax-focused CPAs and tax attorneys and other specialists were incredible. There's a lot of due diligence that happened there. And the other thing that we realized was most of the CPA firms really needed access and introductions to the top tax strategists in the country, top tax attorneys in the country, because they were really limited to what kind of strategies they had access to. So over the last 20 years, we realized there was a huge problem that CPAs were trying to add value to their biggest clients, but they really didn't have time. They didn't have the resources. They didn't have the facility to go out to do due diligence, complete their due diligence on these tax strategies, actually meet the best tax attorneys, and even understand how many pages there are in the tax code. We found that CPA firms were spread so thin. You're talking about we're in the middle of busy season. There are so many deadlines for CPA firms. They're going from one deadline to the next deadline, to the next deadline, to the next deadline. There's really very little time for proactive tax planning, for meeting elite specialists out there, vetting the solutions, and then bringing those incredible solutions to their most important clients. So we built our company as a vehicle to fit that gap, to help CPA firms access best-in-class resources, complete due diligence on those resources, and then bring the value from those specialists and tax attorneys to their very best clients.
Yeah, I think like you mentioned it, everyone used to think the CPAs, right, they crunch, starting in February, and they work a lot up until April 15th, and then April 15th they go take a vacation for the rest of the year. But reality is just with extensions and all these different deadlines, it's become a crunch year round. They're under pressure to crank out as many returns or get as much done as they can, that it's hard for them to figure out how to strategize or even do strategic work.
And the typical client of a CPA has no idea what the CPA is dealing with. They're just thinking my CPA knows everything. They know the tax code backwards and forward. They have access to all the ideas. And we're not saying that they don't. We're saying that the CPA is actually the most important person in this puzzle. It's just how do we support them in a way that allows them to create more time, complete their due diligence, and actually do the proactive tax planning that their clients actually want and need them to do. Because most people don't realize there's individual tax return deadlines, corporate tax return deadlines. Then there's trust tax return deadlines. Then there's the spring deadlines, and then there's the fall deadlines. So you have two sets of those deadlines outside of everything else that they're doing, producing financial statements, doing audits, doing all sorts of work that the government's requiring these companies to produce, that they're relying on their accountant CPAs to do for them. So it is a year-long process for the CPA. And meanwhile, when you look at the entire financial services profession, you've got estate planning attorneys, advisors, specialists, CPAs, CFOs, financial experts, all these different people. Really the only class of people that are trained to do tax planning, that are supposed to sign the tax returns, that are supposed to understand the tax code, are the CPAs who have audit experience and tax court experience. No one else has that experience except for these tax-focused CPAs and some of these tax-focused tax attorneys that specialize in some parts of the tax code. So this is the group of people that we've identified and we want to bring into our independent peer review community. And really that's what the Due Diligence Project is all about. The same way Amazon and Netflix helped us save a lot of time and give us a lot of confidence when we're buying things on Amazon or looking for a movie, something to watch on Netflix or these streaming services, what's the real big thing that's happened over the last 10, 20 years? It's the independent peer review. That's changed our world, because before independent peer review, we'd go to Blockbuster and we would be flipping over these videotapes, right? Reading the backs of these boxes going, I wonder if my wife and I are going to like this movie or not. You know, when we bought a toy, we'd go to Toys R Us, go up and down the aisle. You know, maybe this is the best toy at the best price. We don't do that anymore. We go to Amazon. We look for 4.9 stars. We go to Netflix. We go to these streaming services. They show us 96, 97, 99 percentile shows and movies that we're probably going to enjoy watching, or 7.5, 8, 9 out of 10 star shows that have been peer reviewed by millions of people. What does that give us? It gives us tremendous confidence, and it saves us an incredible amount of time. We've created the same type of facility for tax-focused CPAs where they come to our community, they get 20 years of notes on hundreds of tax strategies. They go into the tax code, they go to the notes, they speak with other hundreds of CPA firms that are part of our community. They speak directly with the leading thought leaders who are providing education and continuing education, and truly the thought leader in the space. They get to communicate directly with them, ask their millions of questions about various tax strategies. And then together, as a community of tax geeks, we're ripping apart the tax code, ripping apart these tax strategies and going, where is the weakest part of each tax strategy? Can we defend this in audit? Can we defend this in tax court? Not that we want to go to tax court or audit, but that's the work that happens. It's messy, it's complicated, it's hard work, but we've created this facility where we've been taking notes, documenting, videotaping all sorts of conversations, harnessing, putting them in the back office for our members. And we're saving our members, 90%, 95% of the time that it would ordinarily take them to complete the due diligence. We're limiting that time, reducing their time to complete it by over 10x, and giving them 10x more confidence when they actually complete that due diligence.
Yeah, so I think you mentioned some good points. I think, anyone that has their taxes done, they want a thought leader. They want someone who's up on the newest strategies. And it seems like you've created that framework for the member CPAs to get that. Where's the link to the individual person? How do they, they're interviewing, or they're doing the peer review when they're asking either their professionals that they trust or their uncle or someone. How do you bridge that and make sure that they're getting the right person?
Everyone's involved in the due diligence business. Everyone's trying to do diligence because the families, they have wealth and businesses and income and incredible, estates that they're building, and they want to protect them, right? So they don't want to make a move that's going to threaten that. So they want to do their own due diligence on everything. Their key is to have a lead tax advisor or their virtual family office or family office plugged into this network, because having an amazing CPA or having an amazing advisor is great. It's like having a really shiny, fancy cell phone. if it's plugged into Bob's cell phone service that's only local, that only has access to like 3 miles away, you can't call across country, you can't call out of this area, that's no good. You need to plug that fancy cell phone into the most vibrant network of resources and knowledge in the world. That's what we provide. So having a great CPA is really not valuable. Having a CPA plugged into an incredible network with a wealth of knowledge, with best-in-class peer-reviewed resources, that's like having a friend who has the Amazon app on his phone and has Netflix and all the streaming services on his phone versus having a friend who has none of those on their phone and just have a fancy, shiny gold phone. Wow, let's look at this gold phone. Do you have any service? No, I don't. So this is what people are doing. They're playing Tetris on their fancy phones, thinking like they're winning. And what they don't realize is what they may realize is that 18% of Fortune 500 companies are zeroing out their tax returns. 18%, roughly 1 out of 5 Fortune 500 companies are wiping out their taxes, meaning 4 out of 5 of the most profitable companies in the world don't know how to do this. So 4 out of 5 Fortune 500 companies who have access to the fanciest CPA firms and law firms in the country essentially have really average to below average tax planning. That is, to me, a wow aha moment. And this has been going on forever. So if billionaire-owned Fortune 500 companies are, and the same thing goes for family offices. 4 out of 5 family offices that support billionaire, centimillionaire, multimillionaire families are tax inefficient. Like, we're talking average to below average tax planning, where 1 out of 5 or less than 1 out of 5, we would look at their tax plan and go, man, that is really meticulous. That tax return, we can frame it, we can put it up in the Louvre. It's gorgeous. That's kind of what our CPA community does, and the CPAs are not the problem. We love CPAs. They're dealing with the problem. The problem is the environment they're in. The problem is they have too many B and C clients. They take up too much of their time. They don't know where to find the resources. They don't know how many pages there are in the tax code. And their jobs are spreading themselves so thin that they want to provide this service to their clients, but they can't. So our firm is there for them to plug into, eliminate their wasted time, eliminate all the fact that they can't access the best resources in the country. We're going to give them access to those resources. So if you're a business owner that thinks that they're paying way too much in taxes, which most successful business owners probably think that, the solution is not to find a better CPA. The solution is to plug your CPA into the Due Diligence Project, into the Virtual Family Office Hub. We have hundreds of members. We have over 10 members who are former Big Four tax partners coming from Deloitte, Price Waterhouse, KPMG, all the big firms. And our community continues to grow year after year after year, because most CPA firms, that when they find out what we do and who we are, they can't believe that we actually exist, and they've been looking for us their whole careers.
You mentioned family office and virtual family office. Can you, for the listeners, define or detail what a family office is?
Sure. A family office is a way for you to hire your own CPA firm, law firm, advisory firm, and best resources in-house. And typically you could have a single family office that supports one family. Those family offices might cost $1 million a year, $250,000 a year to operate, maybe $2 million a year. It really depends on how many people and what services that family needs. Multifamily offices exist where they can take care of many different families. Maybe they'll have 5 families or 20 families or 30 families. Maybe their net worth ranges from 100 million to billions of dollars. But what our idea was why not build out these virtual family offices for families who are worth 20, 25, 50 million, 100 million plus. Custom design these family offices. Let the lead of the family office be the most trusted tax advisor of that family, and then outfit that family office with best-in-class resources. That family might have their favorite financial advisor. They might have their favorite estate planning attorney. So now they have their CPA, favorite advisor, favorite estate planning attorney, and now their CPA is plugged in the Virtual Family Office Hub, where they bring in the very, very best resources. Now they have access to private family office investment opportunities with other family offices that are maybe focused on crypto or real estate or other things. But now their lead advisor is really going to bring in some incredible proactive tax strategies to the table that have been vetted out by hundreds of independent CPA firms. So the virtual family office allows that family to custom design their family office. Maybe they don't need check writing. Maybe they don't need a lot of the other services that a full service single family office provides. Maybe they just want a concierge service. They want to be able to do proactive project-based tax planning, or this family just sold their business. They want to do a lot of real estate investments. They want to be able to buy and sell real estate and have someone manage their real estate portfolio efficiently without having to call 7 different people every time they want to buy or sell an asset. They make one phone call with tremendous confidence to who? The head of their virtual family office. And what a virtual family office will do, it'll organize all the thoughts of all the people on the team of that family and have one voice through the leadership, so that that one leader is communicating the leader of the family, the patriarch and the matriarch, and everything is done efficiently. So the team works underneath the most trusted advisor of that family, even though those team members might be bigger, better, stronger, higher net worth, because they're going to be the very, very best specialists in the country, in the world, providing that service to that elite CPA who's running that family office for that family. Created this teamwork type structure that creates time savings and confidence for that family and that lead tax advisor.
The CPA firms that are part of the due diligence project, what do they typically look like? Do you have everything from like a solo CPA practice to these enormous CPA firms? Are there ones versus others that lend to being part of the network better? And then also, where do you see CPA firms looking like in the future?
Yeah, that's a great question. We've been doing this a long time. We've met large firms, medium-sized firms, regional firms, small firms. We build relationships with CPAs one at a time, whether they're part of a large firm, a medium firm, or a small firm. Each CPA is essentially running their own practice and their own business. And it's very difficult to build a relationship with 20 CPAs at one time. If we did that, we would be building a relationship with one CPA. We might do a presentation. When we do a presentation for a larger firm, we're going to build those relationships one at a time, make sure each CPA really understands how they run their business, and that we're not going to have to make much changes in their business. We're just trying to help them be more efficient. We're going to help that each CPA get rid of or fire or sell the bottom third of their book of business, which is wasting a bunch of their time on their B and C clients. Let's get rid of those B and C clients, move them somewhere else so we can focus on our A plus and A clients that require more time, more service, but there's higher revenue opportunities there and higher value opportunities there, which is really enriching, which is exciting for the CPAs.
When you have let's say the medium size or even the larger size CPA firm, do you ever run into where, you have your independent peer review and come up with this strategy, and all of a sudden they go and they take it and they come back and say, sorry, said we can't use this for whatever, reason, where it's people sometimes like the larger firm because they may think there's more resources, but the larger firm may also dictate this is how we do it and we're not entertaining anything else.
Right, absolutely. Well, what's really fun for us is we have the largest independent peer review community of tax-focused professionals in the country and the world. No one else is doing this. So our competitors are actually the other specialists and resources and tax attorneys that are already part of our community. So the other CPA firms that are out there, they're maybe have bigger CPA associations than us. They're maybe W-2 employees and all. So no one else is doing what we're doing. When we do due diligence on something and we say something is good, first of all, our due diligence never stops. So if some other firm looks at a strategy that we have and say we can't do this strategy for whatever reason, we want to understand why. And the question is it emotional, or is there something in the tax code? Is it just a rule? Well, what's going on? Because at the end of the day, they think they're doing due diligence on the strategy, but what's happening is we're actually doing due diligence on them. Because we're the independent peer review. We have hundreds of independent peers. Some of them are the most elite tax advisors in the country doing due diligence on our strategy. So, we have 847 different independent firms participate in our 2020 summit. I don't need 847 separate, unique CPAs with 50,000 hours of experience in audit and tax court to all agree that a strategy is good or not. If out of those hundreds, let's say 80 of them actually complete their due diligence on a strategy and they're like, we know the weak parts, we know the strong parts, we are recommending this to our biggest clients. That's a lot of independent peer review. Okay, to get 80, to get 50, to get 30 CPAs to agree on something is very difficult to do. So then if I have another CPA firm, let's say they're the biggest firm out there, and one of their CPAs comes in and says, we don't like the strategy. Why? What's in the tax code you don't like? Because we want to know. We actually want to know why you don't want to do this. Your answer to that question is most likely going to result in us understanding how your firm does or does not do due diligence. We're doing due diligence on you. We add the best, most respected tax attorney in the country. And they come to us and they're like, Alex, we're so excited to be part of the Due Diligence Project, Virtual Family Office Hub. Our lead attorney is the most respected tax attorney in the world. He is so excited to review your strategies. You know what our message to him is? We're super excited, but at the end of the day, we don't need him. He needs us because we're going to do due diligence on him and his tax strategies, because the world is very simple. He's one person. That's one opinion. Even though he might be the best, it's not as good as having hundreds and hundreds of independent CPAs coming from all the firms, reviewing all the strategies. That is going to give our CPAs way more confidence than the opinion of one person. So as great as one person can be, as great like KPMG, Deloitte, PwC, they get one vote. All their employees are W-2 from that one firm. If I have 20 of them review a strategy, they're going to count for one vote because they're W-2s for one company. They have to represent the views of that firm because we look at groupthink.
How does all the information of, like, let's say a peer review get disseminated to other members of the group? Let's say there's some legislation that's passed. Let's take Secure Act as an example. And I'm sure your team would tear that thing apart. And I know you mentioned the summit, which I imagine is maybe an annual summit. Is there other times during the year, or is it kind of ad hoc things?
It never stops. So we have agents, we have CPAs, we have attorneys. Everyone is trying to add value to the due diligence project. So anytime something comes up, we get multiple people sending us information about, here's the update from the tax code, here's potential updates to the future of the tax code. So all the specialists out there, their back office teams are constantly inundating us with updates on information about the strategies, about what's happening in the tax code, about what's happening in Congress, what's happening in these lobby groups. Each CPA is doing this independently. So everyone in your audience has a CPA. Each CPA is constantly being updated by outside sources, the same thing. So what we're constantly doing live virtual meetings every month with updates. So our specialists come on, they give their update on their specialty, they share their specialty with the community, we get the feedback of their community. So we never stop doing due diligence on our existing strategies, on what's happening in the tax code, and on new strategies, because we're constantly getting fed information and we're constantly sharing that information in newsletters, in video conference calls, one-on-one phone calls, emails, etc., and in the planning that we do with our CPAs and their clients.
And I guess the network is big enough that there's niches within the network. So if something comes out that maybe has an impact to real estate, there's CPAs, attorneys on your side that have enough expertise in that area that they can really dissect what's going on.
Absolutely. And now, our firm has gotten so big where the end user, the clients are finding us. They want us to help build out family offices. They want us to recommend CPAs, us to recommend attorneys, because they realize even though our community exists for the CPA, for the virtual family office that's led by the tax-focused CPA, their elite clients are finding us on the internet. They want, hey, Alex, we know who you are. Can you recommend a really good CPA firm? We're really set up for that because we're doing so much due diligence on our CPAs. We have so many amazing CPAs that have been with us for 15 years or more. We're seeing a lot of success there. And our members, we feel like, are head and shoulders above everyone else out there in the CPA community because of what we're doing, because of what they're doing, and the fact that they're passionate. They want to provide the very best value, the very best work they can, and they're really modifying their businesses and operating around these deadlines, making changes in their business so they can actually be the best of the best. And we're really passionate about putting those CPAs out in front.
Hear everything from my CPA is aggressive, my CPA is conservative, to this is black, this is white, this is gray. What really is end result of a strategy?
A great question, Mark. What I would say to you is go Google the U.S. tax code and just read it a little bit. Just read a paragraph and try to make heads or tails out of it. We're dealing with something that is just insane. It's an insanely written, complicated document. When you jump into that tax code, it's overwhelming. Like if you ask any CPA, do you know the tax code? The answer is no. No one knows the tax code. Nobody knows the tax code. If someone says, yeah, I know the tax code, run away from them. Like, it is complicated. So really to understand the nature of the tax code, and it's taken me years of working with CPA firms. And in the beginning, I was useless to them, but I've been doing this now between 15, 20 years, and my life has been dedicated to this. And to really understand how IRS looks at a tax strategy, you have to understand what they're doing in audit, what they're doing in tax court, look at the actual tax code, look at how they're attacking these tax strategies. And after years of doing that, all of a sudden you start to be like, okay, I think I kind of get it. The learning curve is insane. And the CPAs don't do a great job of sharing what they actually do because they're not great storytellers, right? They're doing this work, but they can't really explain what they're really doing to their clients. So most clients just don't know what's going on. It's so meticulous. It's like the IRS changes a word. They go from or to and it's a completely different law. They just change that word from or to and all of a sudden you take the top elite CPAs and attorneys that we have in some of our network and you call them up, be like, hey, what does this mean? They'll talk to you for hours about this. To understand how the IRS works, where they're going, how they're tinkering it, you have to be there, you have to get involved, you have to carry the bag and have enough experience in there to all of a sudden go, I got it. And unless you're there, unless you have 10,000 hours or 50,000 hours of experience in audit and tax court, it's like, there's that book that says to become a master of something, you need to put in 10,000 hours. Most financial professionals have not put in 10,000 hours in tax planning. So when they get a tax question, their answer should be, I am not a tax advisor. Talk to your CPA, talk to a tax professional. I am not qualified to comment on it. So this is why we really focus on those CPAs and go, listen, you guys are like at least seen pictures of Jupiter, of Mars. You can talk about what Mars and Jupiter are like. If I want to go on vacation in Jupiter or Mars, I can't talk to someone who's never been there before. And that's why we want them to have access to this due diligence because they're in the tax code. They have to sign the tax returns. They have to really understand how the IRS or a potential audit would look like for them to feel confident or not confident. Like I said, it's taken me years just to be able to have these conversations and not sound like an idiot. But the work is so important. And that's really why we exist, to change the lives of these CPA firms, to change the lives of their clients, and to provide this service that we didn't even realize was a need until we just dove into this and found out this was a huge, huge hole that we were filling.
Yeah, makes sense. Well, we're just about out of time. Alex, thank you for joining me today. It was great having you on the show, showcasing what you do with the Due Diligence Project. What's the best place to send listeners who want to learn more?
They can go to duediligenceproject.com and email us at info@duediligenceproject.com. Mark, thanks so much for having me. It was a great pleasure. Have a great rest of your day. Have a great rest of your week, my friend.
Perfect. We'll link to all that in the show notes. So thanks again, Alex, and thank you everyone who tuned in today. Don't forget to follow the Agent of Wealth on the platform you listen from and leave us a review of the show. We're currently accepting new clients, and if you'd like to schedule a one-on-one consultation with our advisors, please do so at bautisfinancial.com/call.
Thank you for listening to the Agent of Wealth podcast. Click the subscribe button below to be notified when new episodes become available. The information covered represents the views and opinions of the guests and does not necessarily represent the views or opinions of Bautis Financial. The content has been made available for informational and educational purposes only and is not intended to be a substitute for professional financial planning and investment advice. Always seek the advice of your financial advisor or other qualified financial service provider with any questions you may have regarding your investments and financial planning.